All right, today's e-commerce interview meeting thing was interesting. It was not so much an already existing or needing to be set up e-commerce business, so much as it is a 60-something Jewish couple in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, who have been in their apartment for, I guess, forever, and have accumulated a lot of everything. And now they're in their 60s, they're looking to go to Florida, and they would like to travel light, which means they need to declutter and to have less stuff. The husband is a creative type, I suppose you'd say. He's a photographer, he's a musician, and so he's got things in the apartment like, oh, this is a bronze statue that I have because I was photographing a cellist and I needed a prop, so now I have a statue. And so it's that kind of stuff that they are looking to sell. And then there's also, the wife has some, I guess you'd say, vintage clothing that she may be looking to part with because she cannot carry it all to Florida. Some of it is clothes from the 70s and 80s that she no longer wears just because where are you going in that? Where is she going, I guess? She's not going in that. And so it's the two of them being in their 60s and I guess not creatures of the modern world so much, don't know how to go about selling their stuff off online. And they don't know the best way to go about doing it. They know that they have a lot of stuff that they need to declutter. They know they need to declutter if they're going to be able to leave the city easily. I would classify it as a hoarder apartment, very much in the tradition that my parents were or are hoarders, in that only it's worse. It's these two have so much stuff in their apartment that a person cannot even walk through the apartment. And they're talking, well, what if we put something online that we're having like a yard sale in the apartment, which by the way is called an estate sale, and we have people come in. And it's everybody comes in between 2 and 5 on this one day that we designate. That way we don't have to have people in and out of the house at all hours of every day and every night. And I said, sure, you can advertise that you're having an estate sale and that the estate sale will take place on this day from this time to this time. But it's not feasible with all the stuff that you have in the apartment. If 10 people come here and they want to walk around and look at what you have, they're going to be bumping into your fancy bronze statue. They're going to knock over that curio over there. They're going to knock each other over. They're going to trip over the fact that the rug, because you have a rug under a rug, and it is Persian rug madness on their floors. Beautiful Persian rugs, but entirely too many of them. And they're not creatures of the modern world. They don't know the internet very much, and that's okay. They deal in another world. Like I said, the husband is a creative type. He's a photographer. He's a musician. He's, asking me questions about what's the best online platform to sell this harp. Having never sold a harp in my life, I couldn't tell him off the top of my head, but I am a creature of the modern world and of the internet, and I've got nothing but time to do the sort of research to find out where one sells a harp, I suppose. And so they need a sane person to run logistics. And the scary thing is that as compared to the two of them, I am the sane person who is qualified to run logistics, to say, okay, you have a harp for sale. This is a whatever it is, make and model of harp, and you know how much this is worth and how much money you would be willing to accept for it. And I can sort of, scout around and do some kind of research somewhere on the interwebs and find out who buys harps and how much they pay for them and stuff like that. So they've got a lot of artwork, they've got furniture, they've got exercise equipment, big heavy stuff that somebody would have to come with a truck and take out of there. And it's, they're asking me questions about, well, can we ship things? Because it might be easier if it's, a buyer somewhere outside the city who wants a piece rather than to wait around and find someone in the city who's going to want the piece. And so then I got into explaining about how, well, yeah, you can ship things, but I found when I started earlier this week selling my own stuff on OfferUp that there's certain things you cannot ship on OfferUp. For example, OfferUp will not allow you to ship home exercise equipment anywhere. I don't know why that is. They have a policy about things you can ship and there's things you cannot ship. And I am not above the policy, and that's okay. And so neither would these two be in their apartment in Sheepshead Bay. There's a policy and you can ship this, but not that, as I found out. And so that little bit that I know about that is infinitely more than they know about that, which I guess does make me the sane and knowledgeable person to run logistics about that. And the husband, being a photographer, he was showing me on his phone, he's got beautifully staged photographs of a lot of the pieces that he wants to sell already. Hundreds and hundreds of pictures of things that, photographed beautifully in the nice lighting to make it look attractive to a buyer. And when you are selling something and it is a visual representation, you want it to, you want to make it nice to entice the customer. And so I pulled out my phone and started showing him my blogs. And I said, well, okay, you've got the beautiful image. I'm a writer. I'm pretty good with words, or at least I like to think I am. I can create for you a little blurb description that is as gorgeous as that marble statue you're looking to sell, to make it even more enticing to the buyer. And, talk about, well, how do we do this? Do I have to set up an OfferUp account? Can we sell this on your account and then you just take a commission? And I said, I'd be very happy to work on commission. How much of a commission would you like to pay me? And so we talked about that, and they need a couple of days to think about how to proceed, which is absolutely fine. I get it. They're older people. They move slowly, and that's, it's absolutely fine. But, I did give them things to think about, and, they were talking about, well, if we don't want to sell it on the internet, because the husband was saying he knows that these e-commerce sites like eBay or even OfferUp or anything else where it's even things like Venmo, PayPal, whatever. If you are selling something and you are selling it at a price of $600 or more, then the IRS will impose a tax on whatever income you make from the sale of that product. And it's, do we sell it for the price of whatever over $600 that we think it's worth and pay the taxes? Do we sell everything for $599.99 and make it and run around the tax man? Do we find a way to sell it where it's an all cash only thing? And that brought about the discussion of how, again, even if you have an estate sale and you manage to clear the clutter so people can walk through the apartment safely. I mean, the two of them that live in that apartment can't move around in the apartment. I don't know how they live like that all day, every day. I don't particularly want to know. But they do. And it's, well, okay, if you say that you're having an estate sale and you list your gigantic, enormous, big wraparound leather sectional that wraps around your whole living room at the full asking price of $3,000 that you think you're going to get for it, and you want someone to come and pay you cash that day, no one walks around in Brooklyn with $3,000 cash in their pocket to buy a used sofa. And then you'll incur the problem of somebody comes in, looks at the sofa, says, yes, I'd like it. I'm going to put down a deposit, go to the bank and come back. And they put down the deposit and you wait for 6 days waiting to find out if they're ever going to come back. And then you haven't sold your sofa, you don't know what you're doing, and you're and so, we were talking about, and he said, well, is there anywhere else we can sell these things? And so I said to him, well, things like the artwork and the stuff that you used as props in the professional photographs that you took in your career, there's places that might have a use for those things that are not a private person looking to buy them for their home. There's you could consider donating the artwork to a museum for them to display. And he says, well, would they pay for it? And I off the top of my head, I don't know that a museum would pay to purchase those artworks. I don't know. But again, I am the same person who can run logistics and sort of look into it. And I said, well, okay, all right, I don't know off the top of my head that a museum would pay you top dollar for that bronze sculpture. And then I said, well, you say you use these pieces as props in your professional photography. Would some photography house also have use for them as props in professional staged photographs? And he says, no, they're not doing that anymore, because the AI can not only make the thing, but make it look better and just as realistic without actually having to. And so it's the robot uprising. And I said, okay, fair point, that's true. There's maybe a theater might need props for a production of I don't even know what. And that's an avenue that we could look to go down if you're willing. And he says, well, what would they pay? Would they buy it, or would they want me to donate it? Off the top of my head, I don't know. Because I did not know until I went there and I saw that they've got 6 rooms of bronze sculptures, and that's a marble pedestal to put the sculpture on. And look at this painting over there. And I had to physically go there and see what we're working with and having seen, I am the logical and knowledgeable person who can run logistics and strategize. When did I become the logical, knowledgeable person who can run logistics and strategize? How am I the logical and knowledgeable person who can run logistics and strategize to help them, and yet still fail so miserably at running my own life at times? That is the question.